Before you ate breakfast this morning, something ancient stirred inside you. Not a thought. Not a craving. Something older than thought itself. A signal buried so deep in your nervous system that no amount of civilization has ever touched it. You felt it. You just didn't know what it was, because the truth about what your ancestors ate is not a history lesson. It is a mirror. And when you finally see your reflection in it, you may not recognize the creature staring back. Here's something nobody tells you. The human body you're living in right now, the one that gets anxious about deadlines, scrolls through phones, and cries at movies. This body was built by millions of years of starvation, blood, and obsession. Not farming. Not grocery stores. Not protein shakes. Raw survival. For the vast majority of human existence, we're talking 2.5 million years, your ancestors ate in ways that modern science is only now beginning to truly understand. And what they've found doesn't just change how we think about food. It changes how we think about ourselves. Let's go back. Not to ancient Greece, much further, to a time before language was fully formed, before fire was controlled, before we had any name for what we were. Picture the African savanna at dusk. A small group of hominids, our direct ancestors, move low across the landscape, scanning constantly. Their nostrils flare. Every sense is pointed outward like an antenna, searching for a signal. They are hungry. They have been hungry for 3 days. And then they find it. Not what they hunted. What they find, lying in the open heat, already dead, killed by something larger, is a carcass, half-eaten, rotting at the edges. And they eat, desperately, with the focused intensity of a living thing that understands, on a cellular level, that it may not eat again for days. This is where the science gets uncomfortable. For a long time, the dominant theory painted a picture of noble hunter-gatherers. Strong men hurling spears at mammoths. Proud women foraging fruit and roots. Clean, dignified, purposeful. But that's not what the evidence says. What the fossil record actually shows is something far more psychologically disturbing. Paleoanthropologists studying cut marks on ancient bones discovered that early humans, Homo habilis, our ancestors from 2.5 million years ago, were not apex predators. They were scavengers. They came after the lions, after the hyenas, after the vultures. They sprinted in, cracked open whatever bones remained, and extracted the one thing no other animal could reach, marrow. Rich, fat-dense, calorie-loaded bone marrow. And then they did something else. Something modern humans find unspeakable. They used stone tools, the earliest technology ever created, not primarily to hunt, but to crack open skulls, to access the brain. Your brain still remembers what it felt like to need that. Because here's what those ancient humans were unknowingly doing, feeding their brains fat. Specifically DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, a fatty acid found in extraordinary concentration inside animal brain tissue and marrow. And DHA, as modern neuroscience confirms, is the single most critical structural component of the human brain. In other words, the brain grew by eating brain. There is something deeply unsettling about that sentence. The organ that generates your thoughts, your dreams, your sense of self, expanded its capacity for consciousness by consuming the very structure it was trying to become. And this is where everything changes. Once fire was controlled, roughly 400,000 years ago, the human diet shifted in a way that detonated the trajectory of our entire species. Cooking fundamentally restructures the molecular architecture of food. It breaks down tough fibers, neutralizes toxins, pre-digests what the gut would otherwise struggle to process. And when the gut's metabolic burden shrinks, something remarkable happens. The saved energy gets redirected to the brain. Primatologist Richard Wrangham built an entire theory around this. Fire didn't just change what we ate. It changed what we became. Cooking, he argues, is why the human brain expanded so dramatically, why we became capable of language, abstract thought, emotion, philosophy. The terrifying part is this. Every idea you've ever had, every dream, every moment of love or grief or wonder exists because a creature learned to cook meat over an open flame. But that's not all scientists discovered. When researchers analyzed isotope ratios and skeletal remains of early Homo sapiens, our anatomically modern ancestors, the diet that emerged was startlingly broad. They ate everything. Tubers pulled from dry ground, insects, shellfish along coastlines, fish, eggs stolen from nests, honey, seeds, and, yes, meat whenever the ecosystem offered it. But here's what the isotope data revealed that nobody expected. The ancient human diet wasn't a lifestyle. It was chaos. Seasonal, desperate, opportunistic chaos. They would feast for days on rare kills, then survive on almost nothing. Those metabolic rhythms didn't disappear. They are coded into you. The cravings you feel for fat, for sugar, for salt, are not weaknesses. They are ancient intelligences. Your dopamine system floods with reward when you taste sugar, because, in the ancient world, sweetness was nature's signal. This is safe, and it will feed you. The drive you feel to overeat, to finish the plate even when full, is not a modern failure. It is an ancient success. A system built by generations who never knew when the next meal was coming. Then, in the last 10,000 years, an evolutionary eye blink, we invented agriculture. We eliminated most of the scarcity, most of the uncertainty that built this machine you're living inside. But the machine didn't change. It is still scanning for danger, still hoarding fat, still craving sugar, still wired for a world that no longer exists. You are walking through a modern civilization in a body 10,000 years behind. What does that mean? Philosophically, it means every time you struggle with food, every craving, every impossible loop of eat and regret, you are not failing as a modern person. You are succeeding as an ancient one. The hunger you feel is not weakness. It is the echo of a species that fought against starvation, against predation, against cold and darkness and loss, and won. So completely that the very mechanisms of survival have become, in a world of abundance, a source of suffering. We built a world the body doesn't understand, and the body is still trying. Think about the 10,000 generations of people who ate whatever the earth would give them, who cracked bones in the dark, who pulled roots from frozen ground, who fed their growing minds on fat and fire, just so that you could be here. They had no idea what they were building. They were just trying to survive another day, to feed the people they loved, to wake up tomorrow. They didn't know their hunger would become your consciousness, but it did. You are the answer to a question they never thought to ask. And the next time you feel that ancient pull, that deep, wordless craving stirring beneath your modern thoughts, maybe don't silence it so quickly. Maybe listen, because somewhere in that hunger is the entire history of what it means to be human.